youth, leaders, everyone just got along so well. God was in the mix at all times. Amen? Mm-hmm. And I tell you what, sweat and a little bit of blood and elbows and hammers, and that's just about all we saw out of this group for about a week. So, Jamie, take it over.
As a youth director, it's so hard because I want to pick a Sunday where everybody will be here, and there's just no way that can happen during the summer. In fact, Daniel went with us as one of our adult leaders, which is kind of funny because he really didn't always act like an adult, did he? But anyway, he's a college student, and he's already left for college, so he couldn't be here, but I wanted to try to pick a day before school started. So although we had 34 on the trip, these are the representatives of those 34. We have last-minute vacations and people out of town this weekend. But we did take 34. You sent 34 people to Oklahoma. And our theme this year was Life Defined. And I thought that was so appropriate because in everything that we did that week, it truly defined us as Christians. We had an awesome opportunity to show the people in the downtown Tahlequah area, which is where our job was located, how we truly do love the Lord. And we did our best to love him with all of our heart and our mind and our strength. And we showed how to love your neighbor. And so the theme was appropriate for mission work to me, it goes beyond that. It shouldn't just be that week in Oklahoma. We should all, as Christians, this should define us. The words on our shirt and in our scriptures of how to love our God and how to love our neighbor and to show that unwavering love. So it's so cool as a youth director, but it's really hard because I get to pull team leaders, student leaders, to kind of be leaders, be mentors to some of our younger youth. And Paul's going to talk a little bit how that idea really got messed up this year, which is okay because we go knowing we're willing to do whatever we need to do. But typically our group's large enough, we divide into 3 groups because that's more work that can be done. And so I had 6 team leaders, and they were Paul and Ricky and Tyler and Caitlin Lau and Austin Steenbergen and Lydia Schockman. And at the last minute, Caitlin got ill, and she and Peg could not go, which is a blessing because I think it was a Monday, she had to have emergency surgery. And had we been in Tahlequah, that could have been really, really a scary thing. So it was a blessing, although we missed them greatly. So we ended up with 5 team leaders, and now that got all messed up when we got there. But it was okay. It was for a good thing. And so I'm going to turn it over to Paul first, and then the other team leaders and a few other students are going to speak and let you know kind of what we did throughout the week, okay? So go for it, Paul.
Like Mom said, this year was kind of different in a bunch of different ways. As some of you know, Bev, this is the first year Bev was not running the mission trips, and she is the boss of the youth ministry, CCYM, and which now we are Next Generation instead of CCYM. So what happened was until there's a person to come in and take over mission trips, youth pastors, directors, wasn't coming to me, get up and they will volunteer to lead these mission trips. This week that we went, we had Dave, and a couple weeks later, Mom directed one as well. But so that was kind of different. So we were kind of wondering how that's going to turn out. Well, when we got there, of course, we had our 3 groups, and there was this job, the men's shelter, and there was so much work that had to be done. They said, well, why don't you just take your whole group and go to the men's shelter? And we're like, okay, that's fine. We'll do that. And the 3 groups kind of ended up working out anyways because we separated into our groups of expertise, so to speak, and focused on that in the shelter. But what needed to be done in the shelter, they needed new flooring in certain spots. Like there was one corner that didn't have any flooring, and there's a pile of dirt and rocks sticking up in the room. And alongside the house, that was rotted out, and the flooring was. And they were about, I don't know, maybe not even halfway done with framing for walls. So the walls needed to be finished framing. and we need to insulate. Jay did a lot of wiring, a lot, and we needed to sheetrock the whole place. And then, as well as all of that on the inside, the roof was a huge pain. Tyler's going to talk about that, though. But so we had a lot to do. I kind of took over the flooring part of it originally, or by myself, and Jesse helped a little bit towards the end. I basically, along with who was it, Cole, David, you helped, Brendan, and then Stephen. And what we did was we shoveled the pile of dirt there and tried to spread it out underneath the flooring level so we could put new flooring down. And that was kind of a pain because dust was everywhere, and we're trying to clean the place, but at the same time we're trying to clean it, dust is still getting everywhere. But we ended up getting it down and cut out plywood sheets and set it down and screwed it in, and it was good. And then on the side we had to replace the floor joists because they were practically not even there. And so we had to cut it and put in new floor joists and then also put new flooring over those. But it turned out really well. There was really, with flooring, there was no major issues really. So.
Okay. Tyler, do you want to go last? Go ahead and go for it.
Like Paul said, I was kind of in charge of the roofing crew, and I don't know how many of you have done a roof in Oklahoma before, but it's hot. It's really hot. We couldn't work on the roof the first day we got there because of inclement weather, so we were just kind of scoping things out, getting a set-in-stone plan. But it was an older building, and it had, I guess I would just call it like a sheet metal, just a sheet metal roof on it. And that was quite the pain to tear up. But we got that tore up, and we had to replace all of the vents on the top, and we had to patch some holes in the ceiling and put in new vents, and we busted our butt. We left early a couple of times. Like skipping breakfast and stuff, just so we could get our part done, our roofing done, putting all the shingles on and everything. But it was worth missing the breakfast or missing the evening activity or whatever we had to do to get it done. And it's hard to explain, but you all will see the pictures later on.
Ricky, you want to talk about insulation?
One thing that was kind of, it's like when working on the house, you had to do things in sections, You couldn't sheetrock until, like, the insulation was done. So me and Brendan, I think there might have been, like, one other person helping, but we insulated, and that was kind of a new job, and I liked it. It was something new, and we got all the sheetrock on there and helped mud and whatnot. And so once we got to the sheetrock and whatnot, then everybody started helping, because there's just so much to do with sheetrock. There's like all the mudding, and there's different jobs, Everyone found a little spot to work in, so.
Hey, can you talk about the barn, like the door that you guys
Oh,
had to fix?
yeah. Okay, so on this building, there was this barn door, and they kept it because of how it looked. It wasn't functional or anything, and the building itself had been repurposed for many different things before it was a men's shelter. And so they had this barn door on there from when it was like a restaurant, I believe. And so while we were insulating and stuff, we had to make sure there were like no gaps to the outside. So we got to play with the foam that fills all the little holes and stuff, and it was fun. But so yeah, that was it.
Lisa, do you want to talk about the outside?
I was outside most of the time with some of the junior high girls, and I just want to say they did such a fantastic job because it was hot. And we spent several hours pulling weeds, and they had a garden, and we tied up the tomato plants and everything. But one part that was really cool is we started pulling weeds around the back of the house. And as we were pulling, we discovered that there were rocks underneath the grass that had grown. And so by the time that we got finished, we had cleared the whole place, and there was like a rock stone patio underneath there that the men that lived there didn't even know was there. So that was kind of a cool discovery.
Yeah, for sure. Lydia, you ready? Yeah. I was on the drywall crew, and the first 2 days we really didn't get to do very much because we had to wait for insulation to get finished, and it started raining, and the roof leaked really bad, so we had to deal with that, and I kind of just sat there. And then the third day we finally got started, and it really picked up, and we went really fast. We didn't finish the whole place, but we did do a whole room. We drywalled it, and then we mudded and taped, and then we started on a closet and another room and like this hallway sort of thing, and so we got that done, and it was actually kind of enjoyable. The mudding part was, and I don't know, it was fun, so yeah, we did that.
So a crew that me and some other freshman boys, plus Steven, I think, we were building a raised kitchen that led into the room that we were working on, because the way the men's shelter was, it was kind of in two parts, and they were living in one part and we were working on the other. So we were extending the kitchen out into this new area, so we had to raise the floor about, how high, 2 feet? A couple feet. And so we had to lay the boards down on the floor and then build up from that, and just, it was a whole bunch of nailing and screwing down boards and just a lot of precise measurements that took a while. Mark put me on it after it was already started, and I think he was happy that he did that, because, I'm just that good. Yeah, but we did we did get that part finished, and then we also had to build a wall going up all the way to the ceiling, and we drywalled all that and put drywall around the front of the floor and everything, so that was a pretty fun experience for me.
The group that I was in, which was Cole, Dad, and I, we had to build a closet and a bathroom and then a frame for a double door from scratch. And the problem was that the room was not square at all. So we had to cut boards multiple times to get it right. And we eventually got it built, and we got everything completed. So.
Jamie asked me if I would have anything to say, and I said, "Really, Jamie? Are you kidding me?" And Brendan, I had you up there because I knew you would make the purple look good today. Aren't you proud, Kevin? They did a spectacular job. I want to emphasize the complexity of this project. I've been in construction for my whole life. I've run jobs. I've been contracting up to 3 stories every state I've been in. I've done some pretty complex jobs, and this stretched everything that I knew to be able to do the job. When they say they replace floor joists, they replace rotted floor joists. So they had to cut back past the rot. Then you have to go back far enough to be sure the floor is still stable. The insulation, for someone to come out and say they like insulation, God bless you, because no one likes insulation. The roof job was one of the most complex I've seen. This was not an easy project that we took on. The thing that amazed me is that every one of these young people, everyone there, picked up their jobs and did them like they were professionals. It was the most amazing thing I've ever seen. I had less trouble with them than I had with professionals on my own jobs. It was awesome. It was also my first experience on a mission trip. Every night we had God moments that we talked about, and I could bring up a lot of God moments. And as I sat back and evaluated, the God moment for me was the mission trip. It was an amazing experience. I hope the pictures actually demonstrate the complexity of the project and what an awesome job these young people did.
This also was my first trip with the youth. I've been on several adult mission trips, but this is my first one with the youth. And I tell you what, we have a bunch of youth that we need to be proud of because they put their all into this project. And it was just amazing to see the cooperation that they had with each other, with the adults, with everything that went on down there. If somebody wasn't doing something over here, they'd pitch in and help over here. So it was a lot of things going on, but not only at the work site, but what impressed me most and was my really God moment, we were there with 193 people total at a Baptist camp, I think, Baptist campground, which needs a mission trip in its own. But anyway, every evening we would have a time together, and the youth would get up and they would ask, how did you see God today? And those youth, and ours included, would just run down the aisles and come forward and want to share how they saw God today. And that was my God moment, because I tell you what, some of the things that these kids said really touched the old heartstrings. And it was just a blessing all in all. And that was my God thing that I got most enjoyable out of the whole trip, was that time together. And of course, on Thursday night, the Cherokee people fed us, and that was great too.
Yeah, when I got to go back the second time as site director, I took a picture of my plate of food and I sent it to Eric, and I said, not rubbing it in or anything, but I get it twice. It was so good. Yeah, I know we're not supposed to be proud, but there is a Christian pride when we go to places like this. And I know, like, Gary's been on several, Deanna, there's a lot of folks, Cheryl, that have been on these mission trips. And to see the kids work, I think kids get a bad rap in today's society of being lazy teenagers and not wanting to do anything. And I tell you what, the people who say that need to go on a mission trip, because these kids work. And we had to, pull them away because they got mad at us one day that they were told to get off the roof. It was too hot. Paul Dirks, Tyler Summers, Taylor. They got mad at us because they were bound and determined to get that roof fixed because the pride that they had in their job, but also they knew that 12 guys would have a home to sleep in once they got that done. That's huge. That's our teenagers. So when we hear things on the news about, kids are lazy and rotten, I'm telling you, they're not talking about our Warsaw kids, because our kids were just awesome. And Jay touched on this. It was really cool. When you have that many people, it's really hard to keep everybody with a job to do. And our roofing crew, all the jobs are difficult, but the roofing crew especially, it is just miserable. It's hot. And they finished at about noon on Thursday. They got down from the roof, they came into the inside, and they picked up sheetrock, and they started sheetrocking. Their job was done, but they didn't stop working. And I just think that that's just a good example of all of our kids, that they were always finding something to do to help, which was pretty cool. I do want to say my thank yous, and then we're going to go into the slideshow. I need to thank you guys. Part of our membership time when you join the church, Eric says, will you be faithful in your prayers, your presence, your gifts, and your service? And you guys, every year, you show that. for our kids so that they can go and be the hands and feet of Jesus. Through your prayers, oh my goodness, we felt your prayers, not only during the mission trip, but in all of our events. We feel that, and we want to thank you for that. Your presence at all of our events, the pie auction and our crazy dinner theater, your presence speaks so highly to these kids that you care enough to be there for them. Your gifts, I mean, let's face it, without your gifts, this would not have happened. So we thank you for that. And then service. So many of you have been such a great example to these youth on how to serve. So we thank you for that, for taking that seriously when Eric asks you that, when you join the church. Thank you for creating leaders. Every single one of these kids and the ones that couldn't be here, they became leaders this year because of you. Thank you for that. For instilling a love of serving others, for being that example. Thank you for that. And then most important, we got to meet some of the homeless men who lived in the home that was attached to what we worked on, and they had 12 beds. And the second morning we walked into this place, and it was just a mess. I mean a mess. You can imagine. You'll see pictures. And there was already a cot and a blanket that somebody had set a cot up in that mess so that one more person could have a place to sleep already. So 12 more men right now have a roof over their heads and have a full belly because of you supporting these guys. So thank you for that. Kids, thank you for your flexibility. Everything I told them that would happen, none of it happened. And they were okay with that. Your flexibility, your hard work, they are so much fun. I know I shouldn't brag, but I think we have the best youth group in the state. You know, when we do our evening activities and our worship, these guys are up front. They're leading the way. They're being goofy. In worship, they're in the front pews. They're ready to go. And what an awesome example to the other youth groups. They're making new friends, and they're just fun. They're a fun group. And most importantly, for being leaders, not only in Oklahoma, but in our school. I see it every day. I get that joy of seeing that. And in our church and our community. So thank you guys for giving up a week of your summer to work really hard and to serve our Lord. So I think at this, Paul, do you guys want to talk about the poster really quick before we do the slideshow? Because I think that's really important. Let me get that out. Why don't you guys come up and talk about that? But you.
Could everybody people who are on the roof just step forward, wave the hand, make a face or something?
Taylor, get on. Taylor was our token girl on the roof, other than Laura, right? Oops.
At the end of the week, the Cherokee Nation wanted to, as a thanks, give something to the groups, a poster. But they didn't have enough posters for every single group, so they had 2, right? And they gave them to Dave, the director of the mission trip that week, and said, whatever 2 youth groups you think deserve it the most, here are the 2 posters for a gift, And at the end of the week, Lee Summit Group was recognized, and then Dave recognized the roofing crew. For the hard work and stuff.
An outstanding job.
Yeah. So here's the poster that we got, and these are all different community values of the Cherokee hold, and so it's just it's really cool.
We'll have it out. We'll put it in the narthex so people can see it.
Yeah, it'll be out there. So whenever you're leaving or talking, you can look at it and see it. So it's really cool. So we felt really, we were really honored and just we weren't even expecting it. That we were gonna get recognized. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Very good.
That's really awesome. Hey, something that they're not saying, and through the years, we've had youth that teach other adults how to mud. You understand that? I mean, these are youth from this church that teach adults how to do construction work. And to me, that's huge. I'm like, and the amazing thing is that a couple of them that I'm thinking of are girls, which is awesome, right? I mean, I'll never forget one of the gals teaching one of the adults. Okay, no, this is how you're supposed to mud. And I just thought that was just an awesome picture that I will never forget. And but also, all these kids did so amazing. But there was another roof that needed to be done. And now you have to understand, the Cherokee Nation called Jamie and asked for our roofers to come down and roof this other building because they knew it would be done right. And folks, this is the reputation that these youth and the adults that went are promoting of you. And I just hope you like I said, you want a Christian pride, a good, healthy pride, but you need to be proud of your kids that you are helping produce and send off. And it's pretty amazing.
And we are. They got permission from the board of directors to strip the other roof. It tested just for a small percentage of asbestos, and so they are going to clear the roof off and get that cleaned. And then I think I've talked to Mark and Terry and a few of the guys, and we're going to try to put together a crew to go down there over a weekend and get the other side re-roofed for them. So that's hopefully this fall we'll get that done. So, okay, anybody else? Okay, let's enjoy the slideshow. Hopefully the pictures make sense. I know it's a lot to take in, but the end of the trip, we ended with a float trip, which was a perfect way to end a great week. So you'll see some of those pictures too.
I have to say one thing about the float trip, though. It really wasn't a float trip, it was a canoe trip.
And kayak.
And kayaks, yeah. June and I were the only ones that got flipped, and that wasn't anybody's fault but our own. And we just aren't experienced canoers. But anyway, it took us a while to get down and catch up with the rest of the group. But when we got there, the rest of the group had been praying for our safety because it was a scary experience, especially for June when she went and floating down the river. But to see the kids gathered and praying for us meant a lot.